We all love a good scare, especially this time of year. Halloween is right around the corner, after all, and I'm sure many of you are looking for terrific, horrifying games to fill your spooky month. Without further ado, here we present you with over 20 horror games of all time that will send a delightful chill through your spine this October. Let's begin. White Day, a labyrinth called school with so many absolutely dreadfully scary horror games on this list. We thought it prudent to include one that's also less brazen in character, yet still plenty of fun. This brings us to the Korean-made White Day, which seems innocent enough yet is actually loads of fun. The gameplay is great, so is the environment, which perfectly underpins the title's laid-back graphics and inventory system. The core of this experience lies in hiding from the school's club-wielding janitor who isn't afraid to kill students roaming the halls after hours. Of course, there are other terrors awaiting you too. If you've never had a chance to explore what this game has to offer, do it this Halloween, don't miss out. This game features a hostile open world that is way more terrifying than the zombies you're trying to defeat. Brutal design choices made by the developers bring out the worst in the other online players, making it one of the most stressful and horrifying games out there. SCP Containment Breach. Few things are as terrifying as the idea of seemingly inanimate objects gone mad, moving about as soon as you turn your field of vision away. What's even more nail-bitingly scary is when you have to blink and it keeps on closing in on you. For all intents and purposes, that's the basic gameplay mechanic of SCP Containment Breach, although on closer inspection there's much more going on, of course. This free game is undoubtedly a must-play title for this Halloween. Rather than ruin the surprise and run the risk of lessening the sheer horror you'll experience, well, just leave it at that. Go play this game ASAP. Five Nights at Freddy's. How in the world could acting as a security guard for a vaguely Chuck Cheese-ish eatery be scary, you ask? Well, how about only allowing that person a set amount of power and tasking them with keeping all of the joint's creepy animatronic dolls within view of the camera? Five Nights at Freddy's is surprisingly tense and scary, despite its relatively colorful veneer and seemingly harmless premise. Rest assured though, if and when these bots get their hands on you, it's all over. The evil within no current list in any era, time or place would be complete without including a few games that are fresh. The evil within fits the bill there, it being a return to form of sorts for the creator of acclaimed Resident Evil series. Nevertheless, this is a splendid multi-platform game we're talking about here and is certainly worth your time. The way it psychologically plays on your fears is of particular note, as are the various evasion mechanics, which replaces your more traditional shooting and brawling, of course. Slender the Arrival. If you've ever wondered what a longer, tricked-out version of the classic Slender the 8 pages might look like, dream no more. Slender the Arrival is arguably the best Slender game currently out there, although that's up for debate. Regardless, it sure looks nice, plays well and remains perfectly capable of scaring the living crap out of you. Cry of Fear. Available on Windows OS, and developed by Team Sykes Chella. This game is like riding a horrific roller coaster through a funhouse of nightmares. The inspiration for the game came from a Half-Life mod, and due to its success, a full game was later released in 2012 on Steam as a full game. It has plenty of gory moments, so give it a try this Halloween. Outlast. Certainly Outlast got the attention of the mainstream gaming media when it burst onto the PS4 after already having done a number on the PC crowd. To put it simply, this is probably one of the absolute scariest games on this list, and assuming you have the ability to fire up a next-generation console like the PS4. If roaming around in dark hallways armed with little more than a batarang draining light amidst all sorts of mutants and monsters doesn't frighten you, we don't know what will. Amnesia Dark Descent. This game has you take on the role of Daniel, who finds himself in a desolate castle with little to no memory of his past. Both the castle and his memories are nightmarish and horrific. Amnesia, a machine for pigs. In the second Amnesia game, you travel back to 1899 and take on the role of Oswald Manders, whose children are in trouble and he's the only one to save them. This game is a great return to the Amnesia universe with awesome gameplay. You won't want to stop. Until Dawn. This game pays homage to horror movies in its thrilling and challenging gameplay. It takes horror movie cliches and magnifies them to the extreme. The setting is absolutely stunning, pulling you into the creepy atmosphere of a lonely mountain where a winter's storm is raging in the dark night. However, you'll quickly realize that something isn't right and a group of friends begin to play through a livable nightmare. There is even a VR version available to this game. Dead Space Necromorphs. The enemies you battle are resilient, strange, and adapt quickly, making the gameplay challenging and horrifying. This game is sure to fit all your October spooky expectations. Enemy Zero released back in 1996 for the Sega Saturn, and in 1998 on Windows OS. Enemy Zero is a classic title to feature on this list. The mechanics of this horror game have inspired many great horror games since its release, but none can match the constant sense of fear it gives its players. Amnesia Justine. This game takes an interesting turn away from the classic Amnesia gameplay. It's an unusual yet horrifying take on the Amnesia series. This small-scale game takes the form of a series of trials and is sure to satisfy you each playthrough. Alien Isolation. Last but not least, we have Alien Isolation, which is a recently released FPS horror experience like no other. It perfectly captures the visual stylings and basic atmosphere of the Ridley Scott Alien movies, replete with a mad xenomorph out patrolling for blood. Again, the only means of survival is to hide, as your character lacks the means to defeat the beast. Naturally, this makes everything all the more terrifying. One should also take note that the game looks absolutely stunning as well, especially if you use the Oculus Rift hack. Then it feels like you're there exploring a partially derelict space station. Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem. Released on the GameCube back in 2002, Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem was a quality title finding its way to Nintendo's past console. This truly horrifying game adds a meta level of horror that is rarely seen in video games. In addition to the classic horror features, Eternal Darkness features fake system crashes to add a second layer of horror. Resident Evil. This game defined horror back in 1996 with its original release, and it hasn't failed to disappoint yet, even with a new revamp in 2015. The game has attracted mass appeal since it has achieved sales of over 78 million since its release. Friday the 13th. The game. The movies are great, and the game was eagerly awaited by fans. Whilst a variety of issues dampened expectations upon release, there is no getting away that Friday the 13th the game provides some epic online gameplay. The chase versus hunting scenario works perfectly and will bring online plenty of unexpected shocks that are sure to terrify you. After all, Jason is one scary beast that you won't want to meet on a dark night. Perhaps you might watch the movie followed by playing the game. Surely the perfect combo. Friday the 13th. The game should certainly be a consideration this Halloween. PT. This game is so delightfully horrific that it will keep scaring you each playthrough. The environment will be subtly manipulated each time, making it more challenging and scarier. You should note that this game is no longer openly available, but if you can get your hands on it, then I have two words for you: play it. Silent Hill 2. This horrifying game makes use of the truly horrifying facts of real terror and their consequences. This game is sure to send a chill up your spine and give you nightmares. Dead Space 2. Taking place 3 years after the prequel, this game contains all the great horror features its predecessor had, but with improved gameplay. You won't want to miss out on playing this great horror game. Silent Hill. This game is perhaps one of the most horrific games of all time. This series, but especially the first one, will seriously send chills through your spine and terrify you to your very core. If you're only planning on playing one horror game this October, make it Silent Hill. We hope we've helped to flesh out your spooktacular October horror games list. These games are sure to fulfill all your horror game expectations and fill your month of Halloween with sheer horror. Happy October, gamers!